Hello, everybody. Welcome to the patch 24.2 notes. So, we finally had a patch after this new big patch that changed a lot of everything. Beasts were struggling. We had those three dominating archetypes. We had mechs, Quillbores, but Quillbores really have fallen off just generally. Um, in duos, they're still very, very good. In solos, they're not that great because they're kind of slow and they don't get divine shields that easily, right? If you're trying to really scale, so it's still worth nerfing just because you create crazy boards really fast, and it's probably potentially the strongest comp. And then we have dragons, right? The tier 4 dragons just being too crazy. So we'll see if they address all of that. But let's get started. So first things off, they've removed 3 minions, and they're adding 3 minions back. So Grandmother's gone, Raptor's gone, and Genie's gone. And in replace, we got Mana Saber back. Some people don't like that just because there are some heroes that can really hurt you super hard with it. Rat Pack's back, which is kind of cool. It's been a while since we've seen Rat Pack back, so definitely an interesting change, right? Helps some beast stuff. And then we have Lil Rag also back. So Lil Rag's getting updated. Genie's gone. Right now, there's a bug that Lil Rag's not actually in the game, but it's still something to talk about, and we'll talk about when it comes up. Next up, we have Rylak change. So Rylak change is not really a big change. It's now, well, it is a big change, but it doesn't change the core functionality, where it's still going to trigger a battle cry of a minion. Now, it's instead of just the left one, it's now adjacent. This is nice quality of life because now you can put it in front, like you can put it first, and it'll trigger things like that. And you can also have two Rylaks triggering the same battle cry. You just have to have them, next to that battle cry on each side. So it's definitely better for players. I don't think you're going to really come to a scenario where you are 50-50ing this. I think you can just fix your positioning where you don't have to 50-50. So this is just a nice buff for Rylak because it was too strong before, but the current one was also awkward to play. So this is overall a pretty good change, I think. Next up, we have Pokey. So Pokey's getting some stats, but also changing the ability to at the start of your turn instead of at the end of your turn. I don't know. I think maybe this should also get well, they're gonna say it's gonna be too much text, right? Like, but it should also maybe start with an extra. It should start one turn earlier. Like your blood gems gain an extra 1/1. And then at the start, like as well as at the start of your turn, because now you have to wait until the next turn to really take any advantage of this, which is kind of slow, right? I would like it where if you bought this that turn, you get an extra 1/1, and then you can go from there. So a little bit slower. It was too strong with Drakari synergy, so makes sense to nerf it. Just interesting if this is going to be too weak now or anything like that. So that's the one like criticism. It's also like not a 6 drop anymore, really. Like this could be a 5, and maybe it'd be fine. I'm not 100% sure on that. So, but it is going to nerf Pokey in a pretty meaningful way. So we'll see how that pans out. Next up, we have Party. Party is getting an attack buff. I mean, people aren't really playing Party Rock Elise. Like, it's too slow. Maybe they do it. It does make starting with a party a lot better, which is something I guess they're trying to do, right? Just make the 2 drops more playable, and this does help that. So we'll see. I don't think you're going to stay on 2 just for party, but maybe double party you might do it. So I think that's helpful, right? Just trying to make 2 drops better. Death Stomper is getting a buff. It was a 2/6 before. I don't remember that, but a 4/11 is actually very decent stats, so should help the Stomper comps. The Stomper comps are already kind of decent, so gives them another angle, just more stats. I'm okay with that. 5 health is like meaningful. If it was a 2-6 before, damn. Whirling gets a nerf. I'm okay with that. Like getting Tyrant spells is just very strong, so nerfing it feels okay to me. Not a huge change. Most of the time, that late in the game, this is not like it's a 7-4 or 9-5. Like it's just early where it really feels punishing to have to deal with a 9-5 with Divine Shield comparatively. Yeah. Scrapper, this feels like you're killing the card to me. I don't know. It's not very good. Like the difference in power level is pretty drastic comparatively, where just no battle cry means that you lose a lot of that synergy, and you lose a lot of that like power of buying this card, where you play it and you get a battle cry immediately. So it jumpstarts your scaling. Here it's like very slow. So I'm not even sure if this is like good enough to really invest in, comparative, where before you can pretty much always buy it because it gives you value. Now it seems like a lot harder to really invest in this. So I'm not sure about this one. I'm not even sure if this is the problematic mech card. I think it's a Chronotron for me, but they needed something to get nerfed, and to be fair, Scrapper was very good, so interesting to see this big change. One Chimera, I'm sorry about this. A lot of people know that I had a hand of making it as OP as it was, but they're nerfing it back down to 2 per combat. I think this is reasonable, so not a crazy one here. The card was too good. I do think this isn't like that heavy of a nerf, but it is meaningful, right? Like you lose a lot. I would like it for it to not revive when it dies. Like when it goes down to 0 and hits a like a meta spot, it will revive itself, right? So I think that's awkward, but I think if you wanted to fix it, you have to change the code, which is probably not worth it. So I guess twice per combat should be better, but it still seems like one of the best fours. And I guess that's the takeaway. They're trying to keep it one of the best fours, but not like as crazy as it was before. So 1 second. Next up, we have Crooner. So Crooner's just losing 2 in stats. I think this is fair because when you buy it, it's like the best 3, right? It's a 5-5 style line. You're not really losing any downside. So I think making it a 3-3, at least you have to pay a little bit. There's some good Naga comps. Crooner definitely fits into those. So doesn't change the core card, but does make it a little bit more expensive to buy. Seabound Seafer, I did not play when this was 3 cards. I wasn't really playing, and I heard it was really, really good. So I do wonder if this does make this really, really good again. So I'm definitely curious to see if this changes this card's play rate. It seems to me like it should. So I'm wondering if this becomes broken again. Like I really wonder if this is like, oh yeah, this is broken again. Like you had to keep it at 4, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how this works out. My theory is like it's probably very good. Just looking at it. Next up, we have Courier. Courier's gaining, making it cheaper to scale. Instead of spending 5, you spend 4. So that's pretty meaningful. Honestly, you lose 1 attack, but you get that back quite easily. So this just seems like a pretty good buff for Courier. So a lot of cards already have high attack scaling, but this just helps. So you can't really rely on just having high health. A lot of comps just scale attack really high. So you have to be a little bit more focused on doing both well, mostly. Death Whisperer, this is a crazy change. You now give all your minions 1/3 permanently instead of just undead. So this stops being an undead card and can really be anything. So you can now like run a cleave and undead if you want, right? So it's pretty crazy. Honestly, this is a crazy buff to Sister, but I think Sister wasn't being played at all. Like you'd rather do the other version, so kind of makes sense. But yeah, it's somewhat hard to get reborn unless you're playing Beast. I guess you could do Beast stuff, right? So you could play this in Undead or Beast. That could definitely be the line there. Play this in Beast comp. Beast gets a lot of stuff. Speaking of Beast, right, we have a couple Beast buffs. So now Lasher scaling attack. They finally did it. They were like, okay, health is not enough. Let's scale attack. So this can be your big bomb now. Could be something very relevant because when you play late game Beast, your Lashes are your biggest card, but it's like a 30, 100 instead of 100, 100. So now you're gonna have 100, 100. So in the end, in the back, that actually could be a big threat. So Lashes actually feel pretty powerful now. And then Sky Blazers, they doubled the stats. You're getting 1-2 instead of 1-1. So yeah, Beasts are going to be probably way better. Honestly, just the Lasher and the Sky Blazer are very huge buffs to both of those cards. So it's hard to say, oh, they're not going to be threatening. Like it feels like, yeah, they're going to be threatening. So if you have like double Sky Blazer, you're probably happy. And Murky is an interesting change, plus 4/4 for each one you control. So if you have 2 Murlocs, it's plus 8/8. But if you have more, if you have like 5 Murlocs, it's quite big. So this could be a pretty cool buff. The only issue is like you're not really. There's not a lot of people that are playing like Brand Murlocs with Murky, but if you are, then this is a much bigger buff. So we'll see. Maybe helpful enough to encourage that type of behavior, and it's also very good with young Murkai, so could see that being something people do. And then Hungering Abomination also is gaining a pretty big buff too as well. So it's not really a card that sees a lot of play right now, just because it's not big enough. But maybe doubling the health scaling could be a big end game for a 5-drop. Like if you triple into this, you probably just run it. It's probably big enough generally that you just run it every time. So interesting to see how this feels, but I'm okay with it being strong right now. It doesn't seem like, oh, this is the biggest problem in this meta right now. Rock's getting a health, sure. Frostling is going to tier 5, which is different, right? So that does change things, but now it's getting 2-1 for each Ellie, wherever you play. I don't know. Going to tier 5 does hurt, but we'll see how it feels. I guess you have to do that if you can stay on 4 for Little Rag. Little Rag's back. Tier 4 Little Rag is kind of scary to me. But maybe this just helps you get the setup to level, right? Instead of going straight to 6, trying to get the rocks, you can now go Little Rag, get your golden Wraith, and then level with the goldens. So this could definitely work out. And then we have Roaring Rallier, where this card I really did not like. It dealt too much damage, so I'm happy for it to lose health. I think that's a healthy compromise here. Still going to be very good, but you might have cards dying. Like, it was so weird when you have 2 and it's just healing every time you attack. It's just like, come on, I can't kill anything. So hopefully this does fix that problem, but we'll have to see. I think this Amber Guardians change is really elegant, honestly. Moving Amber to a tier 5 just means that if you are trying to play dragons, you need to get a tier 5 Amber. And even if you do, it's only 1, so you're going to slowly be getting Divine Shields. It's just reducing some of that huge Power Spike where you have full Divine Shield Dragons without any compromise. So I think this is pretty healthy. Might mean you need a level 2/5 to get Yulon and Amber, but I think this helps that unbeatable, potential. You can still get those huge dragons, but it's not as easy. It's not as free, and I think that's super fair. Hooktail's losing stats, sure. I mean, it's not. It doesn't seem that it needs to lose stats, but maybe it was really good at low elo or something. But I guess I'm fine with it. Trickster's getting an attack, sure. Gladiator's getting an attack. This is actually very meaningful, but it's also helpful. Like, this is meaningful for Gladiator if you buy it early. Weaver's getting a health. Who cares? No one cares. Backstage Security's new ability, though, is now deal 1 to your hero, so significantly better. You might actually just buy this every time now. So this is a big deal. Like, this card is now not the worst 1-drop. So I think they were trying to fix it, trying to not make it a worst 1-drop, and I think they succeeded. It does mean that if demons are in, you're going to have to think about this card, and maybe there's nothing that can beat it. Except for Picky, right? Itself, so it's definitely a weird one, because it does mean like you might just lose to this every time, but it does make betting easier as well, because you'll see who takes 1 damage. So definitely a change that makes this not the worst card in the game. So I think that's okay. Next up, we have Fire Dancers. So Fire Dancers gaining 1/1 in both directions. I think it's fair. The only concern is if it doesn't die, right? Because it's too strong. But I don't think that's like a big problem most of the time. So you're just buffing Fire Dancer. People can buy it early for tempo, and might actually win you the fight. So I think that's decent. Shipwright. This is something I also suggested. But they went through it as whenever this gains attack, it gains 1 health permanently. Now, if you're playing it with Ripsnarl, you can actually scale it, and also now if you have a late game, it actually might be like a really good health sponge for Eliza and stuff like that. So this could just be a very big card. So definitely helps the early game pirate stuff to have like a big answer, kind of like Reef, and Shipwright can do that for you. So definitely, I hope it's not like Chimera where it's like, oh, this is broken, but this is definitely something I was like pushing for. We'll see how it goes. Fiery Fellbloods 2/1 now. I don't know if this is necessary personally, but I guess it was doing really good stats, because now it's so bad to buy early, but you still buy it early because it's just that impactful. But yeah, definitely feels like you're getting smashed for buying it. But I guess like after the first one, then you have a 4/1, and then it's not as bad. So I don't know. Just the stat line is very bad for a 3-drop, but I guess I would still buy it. So I guess that means it's fine, because I would still buy it. Dealer going to 6/6. Maybe you can buy it if you triple into it now. The 4/4 just felt a little bit slow. So hopefully you can run it, because like when you're getting this from Tethys, you're like, it's too late now. Things, especially since it's a 5-drop. Right, 5 drops really don't have that much value because of Greymane. So it's hard to say, oh, this is better because it's a 5-drop. So if you're a 5-drop, especially with pirates, you have to be like kind of crazy or a different comp. So it makes sense to buff it. Don't think it's enough, right? But maybe it might be enough to contest with Greymane scaling, right? For some, there's definitely something to look at now. Bream counters going to 3/3 again. Yeah, it's good, but Murlocs aren't the dominating endgame. But if you do have early Bream, it's just a lot of stats. So I can see it. I can see it for sure. Well, Don't know if I'm going to be playing Bream Murlocs because of this, but it does help. Every bit helps. King Burgerlo's going to tier 4. That's kind of crazy. I mean, I guess it helps. Since you have Primal Fin at tier 5, I guess having an early game tier 4 can help you like play Murlocs. There aren't really a lot of people playing Brad Murlocs. Even Shady's not a big fan of it, so maybe this can help you do it. Then Conch is going to tier 4, sure. Not a crazy change. Dreamer though is going to 5 is pretty impactful. Does mean that you have to be careful because there's less of these. So this has been like a crazy card in some decks, like especially with Tavern Tempest. So or Pirates. So this is fair. I think this helps a little bit in making those crazy turns less likely to happen. Skyrim for Hearts going to 3 gold. I think this is obvious. 2 gold is just like you could buy this even if you weren't mechs and it's just free money, right? So it just felt weird. Now it's not free money. Unless you get a Quartertron. Opponent Seeker, they're nerfing this. I don't know if this is because of that Jeef build, but the issue with this is you just discover this and it's crazy. Right? Like if you discover this, so now if you discover this, you still need Pirate Synergy. Before you didn't really need Pirate Synergy, it's like still 2 cards, even if you had 1 pirate. Now it's still 1 card. If you have 1 pirate, it's not like that crazy, so I think it makes sense. And Duos Orchestra gets a buff. Yeah, they kill the card, so maybe now it's gonna be better. And then Messenger going to tier 5. I think this does help because Messenger Rylak was just still pretty good. Now it being tier 5, it's going to be really hard to force that, right? You can't easily do that, so probably fixes some things. But yeah, overall, like I'm honestly happy with the changes. I think they addressed a lot. I don't think they addressed mech that hard. I still think mechs are going to be good, and I think maybe beasts are going to be crazy. But I guess it's fine because beasts were not crazy. Undeads didn't really get that much love, though. The sister is a pretty big change, so I guess that's not super true. Pirates got buffed. Chimera got nerfed, which is good. I think I'm not sold on this scrap nerf. I think you might have killed the card, personally. And everything else seems okay. So overall, like a great direction. Hit a ton of stuff. I mean, that's the benefit of waiting this long before making changes. You have all the stats, right? You can see like every underperforming card, so you can hit them directly. So they did do a lot of that. So overall, definitely a good patch here, in my opinion. Will change up the metagame quite a bit. I do wonder, like, if beasts are just going to be like heavy tempo dominant, but I think dragons are attuned, quobers are tuned. There's a lot of stuff. The mechs are still good, though you do lose quite a bit of scrapping, so maybe that's just fine. Yeah, overall, pretty good patch. Let me know your thoughts. See you guys in the next one, and take care. You can have this. Once you watch him, you won't go back. He'll teach you tomorrow, snap. Your skills will be